Vlada je fenomenalno dobra. Evo, pitajte ekipu uz Davosu.
When we started 9 years ago, my first government, we were at 62% of the average development of the European Union. Now we are at 78. By the time we end the third government, we'll be at 82.
Yes, champagne for everyone. So in 9 years, we gained 16%. That's not a development plan. That's a loading bar stuck in 2005. If we were a student, we'd still be getting a C-. So we're at 78% now. Great. So only 22% to be average. But yes. While the rest of us are being sucked dry by the rich, Plenković is sucking dry the rich in Davos. Davos, where the world's richest people gather to talk about income inequality over $1,000 plates of food. Davos is where billionaires go to solve poverty by figuring out how to avoid taxes more efficiently. Those damn taxes! Destroying the poor. But for real, what is the real crisis at Davos? Huh? It's running out of caviar. Yes, this war in Ukraine and sanctions on Russia have been hard on beluga fans. Hard like Donald looking at Ivanka. You see, Davos is high in the Swiss Alps, like a fucking James Bond villain lair. So what is our beloved Prime Minister doing there? Is he defending our Croatian rights in the land of Habsburg? Is another Rudolph coming our way?
The way we heard President Trump today, manufacture in the US or you're going to get tariffs. Don't do this or you're going to get tariffs. How do you react as a Prime Minister? I know you want to be diplomatic, but essentially you're being threatened.
Well, I think that the narrative that we heard today in his address to the World Economic Forum was by and large the repetition of the inaugural speech and also reflects everything that President Trump was speaking in his campaign, a very long-lasting campaign. But I think at the same time we have now experience, we have worked together for 4 years. I was also Prime Minister during his first tenure, and I think that the European Union is now in the position to find a pragmatic relationship that will be beneficial for both sides of the Atlantic.
But that pragmatism, as we heard from the President of the Parliament, surely at some point you have to show steel.
Oh, now that's a hit below the belt. Show steel? You know our Prime Minister is anemic, right? That's how he dodged the military. No, let me answer. So, Trump talks about how Europe exploits America, as if Europe has military base in the US, as if Europe intelligence agencies are wiretapping American presidents, meddling in elections and funding political parties, as if Europe is an equal partner, or even worse, as if Europe sets the rules of the game, goes into wars against American interests, make deals that harm the American economy and energy sector. And wouldn't be a problem if Trump was just making up this narrative about American suffering caused by Europe. What's worse is that there's no chance he'll be stopping this colonial relationship with Europe. On the contrary, he'll demand more kneeling, more money, and maybe for the first time, even territory. I mean, I understand the Americans, but the fact that there are Europeans who don't understand that the EU is politically precisely weak because of US, now that's what I don't get. But our Prime Minister is not there to talk about the bad stuff.
The United States is prospering, European Union is prospering, the optimism for the growth in this year is better than the last year. Croatia has been the country that has had a 4 times bigger growth than the average of the EU and the Eurozone, so we are in a way in the position to catch up with others and want to contribute to the partnership.
Yes. Quest asks about a potential global crisis, but Plenković boasts about how the Croatian economy is the fastest growing in EU. That tells you everything you need to know about the EU economy. We'll all prosper, everyone, both Europe and America. We just need to follow the Croatian recipe. First, you have to have your ancestors conquer some territory that in 1,000 years later will turn out to be geologically perfect for tourism. No country in EU has such a high percentage of its budget coming from tourism. Then, plunder the country so thoroughly that 1/4 of the population flees to wealthier countries and starts sending money back home. Because no EU country has a higher percentage of its income from immigration than Croatia. And of course, the third part, the sugar, spice, and everything nice, in our case, everything nice, is the billions we receive from EU funds. Basically, we're the poor on European welfare. Now, naturally, you have to attach a few parasites connected to the ruling party to those funds. So the Prime Minister can give himself an 80% raise while everybody else suffocates under the highest inflation in EU. He didn't mention that part, but you can figure it out. So that's why he went to Davos, to talk about EU funds.
How can a new vision for successful enlargement align EU accession, trade and growth strategies, leverage private sector engagement and bring benefits for current and aspiring member states alike? Now, this is definitely a lot to digest, and we're going to be really wanting also to hear some questions from you, and it is my great honor and pleasure to be here to introduce the speakers for this session. Here with us today is Marta Kos, Commissioner for Enlargement from the European Commission. Thank you. Andrej Plenković, Prime Minister of Croatia. Thank you for being here. Milojko Spajić, Prime Minister of Montenegro.
Otherwise, I'd say don't be late. You're giving the impression that Croats are like lazy and irresponsible, but that face, that smile. Someone either just gave you another billion from EU or a blowjob in the bathroom, and I think it's the second one. Look at his face while the Ukrainian foreign minister is talking.
Reconstruction in Ukraine. It will be probably the project of the century. It will be also, it seems to me, a trigger.
Licky. He is thinking about the Lika handshake, and you can hear that in his vocabulary because he just wants to talk about members and their enlargement.
Union, which is today of 27, theoretically plus 8 or 9, it's a different organization. It is already now odd to those who were there when there were 6 members, then 9, then 10, etc. But when it's 36, it's a completely different organization. And these two elements will be the underlying question marks for the dynamics of the enlargement.
Yes, Croatia is now the one lecturing about the EU expansion. We were the last to join, and together with Slovenia, we're now at Davos explaining to Montenegro and Ukraine how to use the abacus of European funds. That's fine. I mean, that's the generational shift. They don't know what it was like for us. They don't know. Today's youth have no idea what we went through. You can't even imagine how much our generation had to, like, smack computers and TVs and monitors. But they learn, they work now. You're at, what, 82% of Wi-Fi speed today? We had modems. But I'm certain that if Europe has its way, expansion will never end. First, the borders of Europe, then the Roman Empire, and finally, all the lands of Alexander the Great. We're going to Bactria and Hindu Kush. Too bad you didn't invite a Macedonian to panel as well.